What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, admittedly, half of today's scoop was already rumored from a different industry insider and months ago. The other half, well, not so surprising, as it's now being reported by a trusted industry insider source that both Jeff Loveness and Michael Waldron are both off of Avengers KANG Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars, respectively. Now, the assumption here is that Marvel actually decided to do something else, and I'd stop short of using the word fired as it may be reported in other places, because obviously there may have been some mutual decision in making in that as well, because of the shifting timetables for the films, and this before the writer's strike. However, it would be extremely remiss in not mentioning one other huge element that may be in play here, and while it may imply also that Marvel Studios did make the decision to make the changes in who's writing the script, the reason behind it may be an incredible one, as the timetables are now shifting to a place where it makes it possible for a certain pair of directors to come back and direct said Avengers Secret Wars. We're going to break down the entirety of what's going on here, where this has been reported, what it actually means for those films, and of course what this means ultimately for the directors on the film, both KANG Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars respectively. We're breaking it all down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content here at the channel, and that's all we do. Everything from official Easter egg breakdowns, trailers, and reviews, to the occasional industry insider report like we're covering today, and everything in between. So if that sort of thing's for you, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically enter you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. We've actually got 3 to go before the end of the year. Again, all you got to do, be a sub, leave a comment on this video. If you want, stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so while we do tell you guys to keep this stuff in rumor mill territory or take it with a grain of salt, because no, Marvel Studios has not officially announced the change, and we haven't heard from either of the writers weighing in on social media to confirm this news, but coming from my time to shine, hello, trusted industry insider and anonymous scoopster, someone who has quite the track record over the last 3 years, so has a lot more reverence than, say, your anonymous Reddit or 4chan scoop, has said publicly on Twitter that both Jeff Loveness and Michael Waldron, who were writing KANG Dynasty and Secret Wars, are off of the projects. Now, immediately what that means for KANG Dynasty, not much in the way of a change, because we already know that the director is Destin Daniel Cretton. He's also working on Wonder Man, and even though there have been enormous timetable changes in the size and scope of what's going on for the Avengers, basically they just keep moving them further and further down the road. The strike hasn't helped at all either. I don't assume that Marvel will be taking Destin Daniel Cretton off of that film. I think he's pretty excited to do it. I think we're all excited that he is. He proved that he can definitely handle it with Shang-Chi. I think that was one of the best offerings during Phase 4, so whomever picks up to write that movie may be more so tied to also writing Avengers Secret Wars, rather not having two different people writing two Avengers films that are supposed to tie together in some meaningful way. The continuity is just that much more difficult, and especially since they're still trying to figure out and craft what's going on in the rest of the Multiverse saga. So from that point of view, and while it is still an assumption, I would say that the removing of one would probably mean the removing of both, and then you get one singular person to write both films. That's just speculation, and again, we'll have to wait and see whether Waldron or Loveness weigh in and confirm this news, or Marvel announces it. Now, the second part of this is that there was still no director announced for Secret Wars. And as I speculated, even though they were fast to offer it and confirm it with Destin Daniel Cretton, Secret Wars would most likely always want to be offered to the Russos. Now, the Russos had publicly come out and said that they couldn't do anything before the end of the decade because of how busy they were with their production house in Agbo. However, now that Marvel Studios has moved Secret Wars towards the end of the decade, it may be a way more favorable timeline for those directors to step up and take the film, which ultimately may have been Marvel's whole intention from the beginning. And as we reported in an exclusive here at the channel, there were some intentions from Marvel Studios to offer this film. They were the first choices, obviously, to bring the Russos back. Now, the huge thing here is that the Russos would most likely want Marcus and McFeely, the group who wrote Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, to work with them on this film as well, which is why I have a sneaking suspicion that if these writers were removed, and again, I use the word removed and not fired, I use it lightly, because if they were fired, that's one thing. I think Michael Waldron did an excellent job with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, especially since America Chavez weighed in and said how many rewrites the studio had, somewhere in the number of 20. It's amazing that that story worked out as well as it did, knowing how many rewrites were done. I think he has already proven himself as an amazing writer, and while I think KANG Dynasty suffered more so from the sort of movie by committee, watered down whatever Jeff Loveness's script was. I really like Jeff Loveness as a writer as well, so I would really pause to use the word fired, because again, they may just want to do something different creatively, and if they are able to onboard the Russos, that to me 100% means they'd be going with Marcus and McFeely, again, the guys who wrote Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, to come back and write the script for perhaps the 2 Avengers films. They'll still give Kang Dynasty to Destin Daniel Cretton. He's locked. I have no reason to believe that they would take him off of that film, but they can change the writer there and then keep the same 2 guys to write Avengers Secret Wars, which will line up bringing the Russos back, which I think has ultimately always been the goal, again, for Marvel Studios. And the Russos have publicly said if they were going to come back for anything, it would be Wolverine or Secret Wars. Again, they just couldn't until the end of the decade. Well, as things have turned out now, and again, the strike not helping this at all, the end of the decade is looking likely for when this film would be done. Now, obviously, I think there are going to be some other names that are floated out there for writers. Obviously, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, because of the amazing job they've been doing recently with the Spider-Man IP, are probably runners in at least the public opinion for who they would want to step up and have this job. I also don't have any information to debunk what My Time to Shine Hello is saying, but I do believe Michael Waldron is totally capable, Jeff Loveness as well, of writing a great story for those films, and so we'll cautiously wait to see who they announce and if that job has been offered to someone else or is back on the table. I think there's other people's names who could easily go in the hat for Avengers Secret Wars, and we've heard some light rumors about directors like Ryan Coogler or even Destin Daniel Cretton doing that film as well. But from Marvel's point of view, and I think a lot of us would agree, you already have a team in Marcus and McFeely as writers and the Russos who nailed the end Avengers conclusion to the last saga. If you're Marvel Studios and the way things have been going, I think bringing back that team to do these films is the best option. And yeah, it'll be a little bit different if they only do Avengers Secret Wars, because the Russos and Marcus and McFeely, they won't have control over the characters going into it. But if they allowed them to write those characters in Kang Dynasty, that is Marcus and McFeely, that writing team, and then present those characters in the way the Russos want them set up so that they direct Avengers Secret Wars on the back of that story setup, then you are basically using the same team to close out the Multiverse saga. And if you're Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige right now, and I think the rest of the fandom might agree, I know I'm probably on board for this 100%, yeah, that's who I want to have do it. They've already proven that they can, and, you know, maybe they might be able to clean up some of the mess that Marvel's made in the last year or so. But guys, let me know all your thoughts down below, who your top options for both writers and directors are. And if it's not either of those guys, I totally get it. If you want new people in there to work on this film, I am all ears. I'm really curious to see who some of the names that get thrown in the hats in the rumor mills are, and here in the near future, if this does end up confirmed being true, because I think there's going to be a lot of names that are floated out there. I am very curious who you guys got. Let me know all your thoughts down below. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we are still giving away PlayStations here at the channel. There'll be at least 3 giveaways before the end of the year: the Marvels, Echo, and Loki in just a month and a half. If you want to be entered to win, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. Find me in a couple of places: Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes under the name Allfires. And while I sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.